If you're thinking about becoming a whistleblower, there's a lot to think about. There are complicated laws, it's a difficult process. Here are 10 mistakes that whistleblowers often make. My name is Tim McCormack. I'm the author of the Whistleblower.com blog about whistleblower issues. I'm also an attorney. I've represented whistleblowers for more than a decade across the United States and around the world. Today I want to talk about top 10 mistakes that whistleblowers often make, either before they file their case or in the process of their cases. The first mistake, and an overarching mistake, is trusting people. I know that sounds bad, but trusting the people that you work with or trusting the company that you worked with. And this can be hard because most of my clients, they have a lot of faith in the company they've been working with. They've been with them for quite some time, and they believe in the mission, and they've been working with people, their former coworkers, or maybe still their current coworkers, and recognizing that when you blow the whistle, most of those people are going to turn on you is tough. And it sounds cynical, but sadly it's true. The number of times where clients have come in and said, well, X, Y, and Z person, they'll back up my story. And the reality is, when push comes to shove, it's not that they're bad people, but they need to keep their job. They face incredible pressure from the company. And the bottom line is, most of those people will maybe not stab you in the back, but they certainly won't back you up. And the company, unfortunately, profit is a real strong motivator. And when fraud is going on, usually it's because the company is making money through that fraud. So believing that the company is going to stand by you to try and fix it is often a mistake. In a related vein, a very common mistake that whistleblowers make is they try and go it alone in dealing with the company. Having someone with you, especially an experienced lawyer, to navigate this process, you cannot overstate how important that is. Things that you might think should be easy won't be. The company may ask you to come in for an interview, and next thing you know, you've told them everything in good faith, hoping they would fix it. Next thing you know, they're trying to blame it on you. They ask you to share your evidence with them, your documents that support your concerns. And down the road, after you file a case, it turns out everything that you didn't share with them all of a sudden disappears because the company thinks that if you don't have it, the government will never find it. Or another one, and this is sad to see when it happens, whistleblowers have gone to the company and said, look, I don't want to be a big problem. I know that because I've raised these concerns that I'm not welcome here anymore. Let's see if can we just resolve this and we'll both go our separate ways. And next thing you know, the company is saying that you tried to extort them, that you demanded an unreasonable amount of money in order for you to agree not to report the fraud, where in fact what you're really trying to do is be helpful and just move on with your life. Even if a company is trying to do the right thing, having a lawyer by your side to help you navigate the process cannot hurt. And the reality is, it often helps, and it helps a lot. Another common mistake that whistleblowers make is they talk to a lot of other people, especially the press, about their concerns. Talking to the press can be valuable and important part of correcting injustice, but as a practical matter, there are two things that can happen to you by talking to the press. One, it can hurt if you ultimately want to file a whistleblower case. Talking to the press can hurt that case in ways that a lawyer could explain to you. A more pragmatic consequence of talking to the press or talking to a lot of other people is the company could learn that you're thinking of blowing the whistle, and then they'll retaliate against you. The more people who know you're thinking of blowing the whistle, the more people who might tell a company, and the more likelihood the company might retaliate against you. Another consequence or another possibility is if you tell someone else, under the various whistleblower statutes and programs, generally speaking, the first person to file a claim, if there's a recovery, that person gets the recovery. If you tell someone else that you're thinking of filing a whistleblower claim, they could rush to the courthouse and file one first and preempt you. Another very common mistake that whistleblowers make is they are scared to talk to a lawyer about their concerns because they've signed a severance agreement. And the severance agreement has pretty, frankly, scary language about what will happen to you if you tell anyone anything about what happened at the company. A lot of those severance agreements and those kinds of gag order provisions are, frankly, illegal. But as a practical matter, if they have the effect of keeping you from talking to a lawyer, then they serve their purpose. So even if you've signed a severance that says that you won't talk to anyone about what happened, you should talk to a lawyer if you have concerns about that. You should talk to a lawyer about whether a severance agreement like that is even enforceable. Public policy, and because of that, the law, generally favors whistleblowers reporting fraud, favors the government learning about fraud so they can fix it. And for that reason, a lot of provisions in severance agreements that try and keep whistleblowers from reporting fraud are illegal and won't be enforced by the courts. Some practical mistakes that whistleblowers make. The next one is don't use company email or company cell phone or other company resources to talk to your lawyer or the press, who you shouldn't be talking to before talking to your lawyer anyway, or anyone else about the fact that you might become a whistleblower. Any trail like that you leave, the company may discover it at the time and again fire you or retaliate. Or as a practical matter, if and when the company learns that there's a government investigation, even if they don't know there's a whistleblower, they'll start looking for whistleblowers and they'll go through your email and they'll go through your phone records and they'll find that, and then the retaliation starts. Another practical thing is once you decide that you're even thinking of becoming a whistleblower, don't leave anything valuable in your office anymore. Don't leave your important evidence, don't leave your computer files, but also don't leave any pictures of your kids, any things that you have that you can't afford to lose. As a practical matter, once you think that you might become a whistleblower, you should expect that at any time the company could find out, escort you out of your office, and not let you take your stuff. You may or may not get it back later. Switching gears, a common mistake that whistleblowers make is when they think about this process and blowing the whistle and how they're going to survive the process, get a new job, financially support it, is they assume that the company, once they hear the government is investigating, will settle quickly. I can't count the number of times that someone has come in and said the company won't want the bad press. As soon as they hear about the investigation, they'll want to settle it, and they'll settle it fast. That almost never happens. A fast whistleblower case is 3 years. Far more likely is 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. If you're thinking about blowing the whistle and filing a whistleblower case, you need to think about the long haul. The last 3 issues have to do with lawyers and who you hire as a lawyer and how that process goes. One of the biggest mistakes that whistleblowers often make is they hire a lawyer who has no whistleblower experience or no substantial whistleblower experience. Whistleblower law is a very specialized area of the law, and it requires a different skill set and a different level of expertise than other areas. You really, if you're going to put your case in someone's hands, especially given how long these cases are, you want someone who has substantial experience in whistleblower law. Another mistake, and a related mistake, is if you hire someone who doesn't, or if it turns out they don't have as much you thought they had. If you want to shake up your team, and that doesn't necessarily mean firing your first lawyer, it might mean just adding a lawyer with more specialized expertise to your team. The time to do that is early. Very often, I'll get a call from someone who their case has been filed for 3 or 4 years. They've now learned that the government is not planning to join the case. Things are not going great, and they're looking to change their team. At that point, it's really difficult, almost impossible, to change the trajectory of that case. You can go forward without the government, and you can litigate it, but those cases are a lot more difficult to win. If you have any concerns about how the case is going, the time to think about rejiggering your team is earlier rather than later. And the final mistake that whistleblowers often make with respect to their lawyers is they pay them an hourly fee. The whistleblower lawyers who do this, who specialize in this, almost all work on a contingency fee basis, which means you don't pay anything unless you win your case. Attorneys who charge by the hour for whistleblower work are almost always attorneys who either don't have much experience in this, and that's just how they do their other work, or often they're defense lawyers tend to charge by the hour, so that's just what they do. And that's doubly bad, because not only are they charging you upfront fees, but defense lawyers generally, not all of them, but generally are inclined to look for reasons why a case won't work rather than try and think about how to make your case work. So this video has provided an overview of some complicated issues. If you need legal advice or want to talk through whether you have a whistleblower case, please contact me for a free, confidential consultation.